Have you ever really stopped to think about why butter is a solid you can spread, but olive oil is a liquid you can pour? It's one of those everyday things, right? Well, the answer is so fascinating, and it all boils down to this simple visual: a straight line versus a bent line. That's it. That one little difference in shape explains, well, almost everything, from your kitchen counter to the cells inside your body. Let's get into it.
So yeah, this is the big question. Butter's solid, olive oil's liquid. Why? The secret isn't just about what they're made of, it's all about how their molecules are shaped. To really get it, we've got to zoom way in, down to the molecular level.
Okay, so before we can understand the difference, we need to meet the basic building block of every single fat out there, the fatty acid. Think of it like a little tadpole. It's got this long tail made of carbon and hydrogen, and then it has a head, which is what chemists call a carboxylic acid group. This simple structure, it's the blueprint for everything we're about to talk about.
And here we go. This is the absolute heart of the matter. A tiny, single difference in that long tail we just saw, well, it's about to change the entire game.
So what is that difference? On the left, we've got saturated fats. See how all the carbons in the chain are connected by single bonds? This means the chain is totally full, or saturated, with as many hydrogen atoms as it can possibly hold. But on the right, unsaturated fats have at least one double bond between carbons. That double bond creates a spot that isn't fully saturated.
Now, that little double bond has a huge consequence. It's not just a chemical thing, it's a physical thing. It literally forces a permanent 30-degree bend, a kink, into the chain. So instead of a nice, straight, flexible molecule, you get a rigid, bent one. This is the whole shebang right here.
Okay, so a tiny molecular kink. So what, right? How in the world does that explain the difference between a solid stick of butter and liquid oil on your kitchen counter? Let's connect the dots.
It all comes down to packing. I want you to picture stacking firewood. The straight chains of saturated fats are like perfectly cut logs. You can stack them neatly, tightly, and very densely. But the kink chains of unsaturated fats, they're like crooked branches. No matter how you try, you can't get them to pack together tightly. You just end up with a jumbled, loose pile with lots of space in between.
And boom, there is the answer to our question. Because those saturated fats and butter are packed so tightly, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of heat to pull them apart and melt them. That's why they're solid at room temperature. But the loosely packed unsaturated fats in olive oil, they barely cling to each other, so it takes very little energy to get them moving. They're already a liquid.
So it's really easy to start thinking, okay, straight and orderly is good, and bent and disordered is bad, or something like that. But biology is way smarter than that. It has an incredibly clever use for both of these shapes. In fact, our bodies absolutely need both of them to function.
First up, energy. That dense packing of saturated fats makes them an unbelievably efficient way to store fuel. Our bodies bundle them up into these molecules called triacylglycerols. It's basically the perfect little energy backpack.
And just how efficient are we talking about? Get this, 1 gram of fat stores more than 6 times the energy of a gram of carbohydrates. Why? Because you can pack the fat in so tightly without any water, making it this incredibly dense reserve of power. Okay, so what about the other guys, the messy, kinked ones? Well, it turns out that mess is essential for life itself. Those kinks are crucial for our cell membranes. They create space and prevent the molecules from packing too tightly, which is what keeps our cell membranes fluid, flexible, and able to do their jobs. Without those kinks, our cells would be rigid little bricks. And their job doesn't even stop at structure. Certain polyunsaturated fats are also the starting materials, the raw ingredients, for a whole class of super powerful signaling molecules in our bodies. These are the molecules that help regulate things like inflammation, blood clotting, and even blood pressure.
Okay, so this is all some really cool chemistry, but let's bring it back home. How does all of this connect to what you eat, to your diet, and ultimately to your health?
You know, for all the amazing things our bodies can do, here's a catch. Our enzymes, the little machines in our cells, they just can't add a double bond past a certain point in the fatty acid chain. This means there are certain kinds of fats, like linolate, that we just can't make. They are essential, which means we have to get them from the food we eat. But then, modern food science came along and introduced an unnatural twist. There's a process called partial hydrogenation used to make liquid oils more solid and stable. But sometimes this process can accidentally flip the natural kinked cis bond into an unnatural straight trans configuration,
So what you end up with is an unsaturated fat that's shaped like a saturated fat. It's straight. And this is where health comes into play, because it's all tied directly to shape. Those straight, tightly packing fats, both saturated and the unnatural trans fats, have been linked to the formation of arterial plaques. But on the flip side, the naturally kinked cis-unsaturated fats are absolutely vital for that cell membrane fluidity we talked about and for overall good health.
So let's just take a step back and look at this incredible chain of events. It all starts with one tiny difference, a single versus a double bond. That dictates the molecule's shape. The shape determines how the molecules pack together. The packing determines whether it's a solid or a liquid. That physical state gives it a specific biological job, and ultimately all of that has a direct impact on our health. It's an amazing cascade.
All right, so if you walk away with just 3 things, let it be these. First, when it comes to fats, structure is destiny. Shape determines everything. Second, biology is brilliant. It uses both the order of straight fats and the disorder of kinked fats for absolutely essential jobs. And third, your diet is the critical link that connects all this amazing chemistry to your own health. So the next time you look at butter and olive oil, you'll know you're not just looking at food. You're looking at a story of shape, function, and life itself.